Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Study Area for daily updates of your current affairs and static GKs. This is going to help you for your competitive exams as well as to participate in quiz contests like KBC, KHC, and Dadagiri Unlimited. Without further delay, let's start. It's the new swastika. The letter Z has become Russia's symbol of war. The letter Z has become the symbol of support for Russia's invasion of Ukraine under President Vladimir Putin. The letter was first spotted on Russian tanks and military trucks stationed near the Ukrainian border. But it wasn't just the letter Z. There was also O, X, A, and V on the vehicles and military hardware. There are multiple theories doing the rounds on what the inscription of these letters on Russian tanks and weapons could imply. One theory claimed that Z stands for Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, while V stands for Vladimir Putin. Curiously, neither the letter Z nor V exists in the Cyrillic Russian alphabet. Let's move to our next slide. Russia dangles prospect of safe corridors. Ukraine's skeptical. Safe corridors intended to let Ukrainian civilians escape the Russian onslaught could open Tuesday. Kremlin officials said, though Ukrainian leaders were skeptical since prior efforts to establish evacuation routes crumbled amid renewed attacks. With the invasion well into its second week, Russian troops were making significant advances in southern Ukraine but stalled in some other regions. Soldiers and volunteers fortified the capital, Kiev, with hundreds of checkpoints and barricades designed to thwart a takeover. Let's move to our next slide. Volkswagen Virtus mid-size sedan makes global debut in India. Volkswagen India has globally unveiled its Virtus sedan in the country today and is the second Volkswagen car under the brand's India 2.0 initiative. Based on company's MQAOIN platform, the Volkswagen Virtus replaces the Vento as the company's sole mid-size sedan offering in the country. It will compete against the likes of Maruti Suzuki Ciaz, Hyundai Verna, Honda City in the mid-size sedan category and is expected to be priced between 10 lakh to 70 lakh. The Volkswagen Virtus will be available in two trim options: Volkswagen Virtus Dynamic line with a 1.0 liter TSI petrol engine and the Volkswagen Virtus Performance line with a 1.5 liter EVO petrol engine. Let's move on. United States pushes against Russia red lines with unprecedented supply of arms to Ukraine amid World War III warning. Amid warnings from its own lawmakers that it risks provoking a World War III if it pushes too far against red lines drawn by Moscow. The United States is nudging Poland and Ukraine to stand up to Russia while opening an unprecedented arms pipeline in strategy reminiscent of 1980s when it successfully mired the Soviet Union in Afghanistan. Russian invasion already appears bogged down as the United States and its NATO allies have rushed a staggering 17,000 anti-tank weapons, mainly US-made Javelin missiles and other little artillery to Ukraine in just under a week. On top of that, officials said on Sunday that the US has given a green light to NATO countries who want to provide fighter jets to Ukraine. Let's move on to our next slide. Prime Minister Modi speaks with Russia's Putin, calls for safe evacuation of Indians in Ukraine's Sumy. For the third time since the conflict in Ukraine began last month, Prime Minister Narendra Modi Monday spoke to Russian President Vladimir Putin and conveyed to him the importance of the safe evacuation of Indian citizens from war-torn countries, Sumy city, at the earliest, official sources said. Modi also urged Putin to hold direct talks with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy in addition to the ongoing negotiations between their teams. The source said the Prime Minister also spoke with the Ukrainian President earlier in the day. Let's move on to our next slide, please. German ambassador to India. Putin has made us open our eyes that to keep peace, there might be a price. Germany is one of Russia's closest partners in Europe and has deep historical, political, and economic ties. With Russia's aggression against Ukraine, Germany, which is dependent on Russia for its energy needs, has decided to reverse its 7-decade-long policy of not supplying arms to conflict zones. Walter Zelander talks about the Russian aggression on Ukraine, Germany's lessons from history, putting pressure on Putin, and the role of civil society. Let's move on. In call with Dutch Prime Minister. Prime Minister Modi discusses evacuation of Indians from Ukraine. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday spoke to his Dutch counterpart Mark Rutte over phone to discuss the ongoing situation in Russia-hit Ukraine. News agency ANI quoted the Prime Minister's office. During the conversation, PM Modi reiterated India's consistent appeal for cessation of hostilities and a return to the path of dialogue and diplomacy. Let's move to next slide, please. United States to stop import of Russian oil. Zelenskyy blames West for inaction. United States President Joe Biden imposed a ban on Russian oil imports in retaliation of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The move comes just hours after both BP and Shell announced that it would stop new purchases of Russian oil and gas, while Japan said it had suspended the assets of 32 more Russian and Belarusian individuals as part of international sanctions against Russia. Also, Japanese officials said exports of oil refinery equipment to Russia and general purpose goods to Belarus have been banned, the Associated Press reported. Let's move to our next slide. Thank you very much for enjoying the video. You all are once again requested to subscribe, like, and share with all your acquaintances. Till our next video, take care and bye bye.